So the tools that I use is very soft charcoal such as willow or vine charcoal, my charcoal pencil, a compressed charcoal pencil, kneaded eraser, and a hard rubber eraser, and maybe a compressed charcoal block. Generally, I like, no matter what kind of type of charcoal it is, I like it to be soft so that it's more malleable. Okay, as you can see right now, I'm really just using a dirty piece of blending stump, and I'm just creating a kind of a form, almost like sculpting, creating like a very light shadowy form. I'm trying to awaken my right brain so that I'm seeing this 3D form come out before I add any details. I find that lately it's just to be such an easy and enjoyable way to draw rather than do the outlines and all that. Okay, so I did the eye socket, I did the nose and the outline of the face, roughly where things are, and I'm gonna adjust the charcoal along as I am going through my evaluation intuitively. Like, does the chin needs to be a little bit larger, smaller? Does the nose need to be longer or higher or lower? Where the lips should be? I can just kind of feel it out. At this point, everything on the paper is done by vine or willow charcoal that is very easily erasable. And once I decided, since I'm pretty okay, decide to put down an eyebrow. I don't know why. I just decided to put down an eyebrow, and that right eyebrow, from our point of view, that is done with compressed charcoal, so that is more permanent, more committed basically. See, at this point I kind of almost want to pause the video, but I don't think I need to. You can already see that I drew the eyes and the shape of the nose, and that 3D shape just comes out, and also with a little bit of shadow down here you can see the face, cheek, all the form basically is established. And at this point you're no longer looking almost like a drawing anymore. You're looking at a piece of clay, and you try to just mold it, you try to change it, you try to add certain emphasis on certain parts. You can almost tell like almost where the eye is. It looks like she's kind of sad and she's looking that way, but I know I can adjust where the eye looks at very easily as long as the eye themselves are roughly in the right location. So with that, pretty confident regarding the features, I started to put down some more dark tones with compressed charcoal, which is a lot more difficult to get rid of. And the year generally, in case you don't know, the years usually goes between, if you look at somebody straight on, will be the eyebrow and the bottom of the nose. But since we're looking at her slightly from a top down angle, the years will be a little bit higher, because rarely will you look at somebody perfectly straight on. So far right now, there's no details. We see kind of a 3D shape, but your intuition kicks in and you can tell if something's really off. So far I think things looks pretty good, and there's nothing that is off to the point that I could not correct. And this whole time I'm constantly evaluating. Sometimes I would stop for a little bit, sometimes I would look away and I'll look back just to make sure I get that fresh perspective. Hair, that was a compressed charcoal block. You want to add depth to certain parts, such as certain parts that you want to recede, such as right below the ear is where it should be really dark, and right below the chin goes to the neck, and then it recedes further into the hair, that should be fairly dark, and so on. It depends on the lighting of the image. So as you draw more and more, you start to see almost like her eyes, even though technically I just drew a little bit of a circle around where the eyes are, but we started seeing almost like face looking at us already. But it's blurry, it's light, it's sculpted, there's no details. It's like a marble sculpture without any paint or details. Right now, because I have not committed on any of the main features yet, except that eyebrow for some reason, I can still adjust if something looks off. As more confident I am become of the entire drawing, apparently for this one I took it, from an outside in approach. Sometimes I took from like an inside out approach. I would draw the eyes, nose first. Sometimes for this one I just took an outside in approach. If you think about it, the outside in, inside out doesn't really matter once you already have the underlining light form defined and it's correct. Because right now I'm just adding the dark tones and highlights and details, and it doesn't matter how you do it, doesn't matter what direction you go first, because you already have the form underlining, so you're not going to really make any proportional mistakes, or should I say you're less likely to make any large proportional mistakes. And rest of it is just details, like those 300 plus art videos that I have in my channel. This is the part where I use a lot more of my pencil for finer adjustment and blending stump as needed. I try not to use it too much because, just like as I always say, right, you want contrast not just in terms of value but also in terms of style. very rough versus very refined and photorealistic, as well as contrasting texture, right? You can have something somewhere that's like very smooth and somewhere that's very rough. The more different contrast you present in your drawing while having the main element be very clear and have the value be correct, the more interesting generally your drawing is going to be, because your viewer gets to participate more. A drawing has that extra human touch of style and texture to it, and you should take advantage of that. As we enter into the age of AI, I believe just like email versus a handwritten mail, which these days would be appreciated by most people a lot more, I think people is gonna crave art that is created by human hands. I like the way that I actually filmed the process, because for a lot of artists that is lost, and I think the process itself can be just as beautiful as the final outcome of the drawing. Okay, I did not talk too much about specific parts like the structure of the nose and everything, because I have talked about them so many times. I can focus on one feature or other next time, but there's so many videos in my channel that I've talked about specifically eyes, highlighting the eyes, how to draw a nose, how to draw hair, lips, and it's not really about, especially with observational drawings like this and not constructive drawing like if you're doing animation or cartoon or conceptual art, it's really just about correctly evaluating what you see and put down the right tone value and the right proportions. So I think the process then becomes a more important part of this kind of art, which is why I have always done art videos. There's a plenty part in the video. If you want to, you can watch it again, where I just adjust the little things. I make the lips and things a little bit dark, a little bit lighter. I would make certain parts a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but the adjustments are always quite small, because likely early on when I was doing the sculpture with dirty stump, I was likely to get most parts fairly correct, and anything that looks not correct as you're adding details, you can immediately tell. You don't even need to be a practitioner of the art with years of experience. You can just be a regular person. You can just tell, wait, this nose looks a little bit too long, it looks kind of weird here, so you can just fix it straight away. I can make a video, right? I can show you how to draw, let's say, one of the eyes, and then it's really the same thing. You just repeat that process for all the other features. It's the overall construction of that 3D form first. That's the hard part. That's the important part. Every other detail part, you just learn how to do one detail, and then you can just repeat it for the whole thing. And like I said before, consider put a little bit more, especially today, given how fast things are changing. Consider put more of your human touch in there, and as you create your art, consider do it in a way where, as AI are getting so good so fast, consider getting into a way that it's almost impossible for AI to duplicate exactly your style. In my case, it's the video. It's gonna be a while for the AI to duplicate that. So make sure you subscribe, turn on that bell, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers!